Welcome to Business Brains and the Bottom Line. My name is Paul Delegro, your host, and my guest today is Louis Murad, the president of Murad Auctions. Welcome to the show, Louis.
Paul, I'm really excited to be here with you.
Thanks. Glad to have you. So, Louis, as I was riding into the studio today, I started to think, we've known each other for at least 20 years.
Yeah.
I'm thinking
absolutely.
because
back in the grade school days with the kids.
Yeah, so our kids went to school together, and I think I met you, the first time I met you was at an auction when you were auctioneering.
Right, absolutely.
Right, and I'm like, who is this crazy guy on stage? Because you were full of energy, and you had the voice and the whole bit, and so that's how we first met, and now 20 years later, our families know each other, and but I was just fascinated by the auction business because you've got a little bit of a twist on it, but I want to start with, how did you get it? How does someone get into the auction business? Tell me that story.
So that's a great story. So, we started out, my dad and I were working together, and we were selling used semiconductor equipment. That was the beginning of it. And so I was working with my dad, and he had this niche. He'd retired from TI, and he was selling equipment. So we got a call from an auction company out of the UK, the oldest auction company in the world. They started in 1876, Henry Butcher.
Oh, wow.
So here's Henry Butcher, and they said, hey, we're going to sell an AMD plant in Austin. AMD was closing down their 6-inch line or whatever it was, and they said, we need dad. My dad was the pro on it. So first auction I ever went to for in a professional world was this Henry Butcher group. And so when they got done, they made some money, and they said, hey, we want to start a Texas. We're coming to the United States. We're going to start a Texas office. And my dad says, hey, my son can run it. He understands it, and he'll run the. So I became the manager for this auction company.
Now, what year was that? Like,
so
how old are you?
1998.
Okay.
1990. No, beyond that, it was like 1992.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm working with my dad, and I had been doing computers, and so I start this, and what happened was they had this real cowboy auctioneer in there, and he was doing and they thought this guy hung the moon, and all their auctioneers were very British. They were like, 1,000, any advance, any further, and they were like, we love the way these auctioneers do it. We don't do that here in Texas.
Yeah, no.
The chant, right? So everybody wants to hear the chant. So they had this guy, and he quit. So he runs off, he quits the whole thing, and he says, well, we're an auction company, we got no auctioneer. Well, in the state of Texas, you got to have a license. So I said, look, I'll go to school and get the license. So we're an auction company with a license, so we have a licensed auctioneer. And they go, makes sense. So they gave me the time off and paid for the auction school, because you got to be off for 2 weeks and do it. It's 80 hours course.
Well, because that's actually one of the questions I had is, like any business, like anything, there's more to it than meets the eye. And you don't just hang a shingle and say, I'm going to be an auctioneer tomorrow.
No.
You got to go to training.
You go to the school, and the school's pretty funny because those guys think that what they need is the chance. So, you spend all your day doing the Betty bought her about some butter, but she's on this butter, or one and a quarter, 1.5. We had all these crazy. So anyway, I got the auction license to get through the story. We got the auction license. And so the guy goes, okay, well, you're an auctioneer. Well, we were doing commercial auctions. So we were selling Texas Instruments plants. We were selling Ford Motor Company plants. We were selling, we did a plant for a Zenith plant in Mexico. And they said, hey, you're an auctioneer, get up and sell something, right? Let's see you do it. And so I got up there and I sold a few items, and they're like, wow, okay. So why don't you become the salesperson? So I ended up going to the sister company, which was the Michael Fox, and then I became the auctioneer that they would hire to go all over the country. Okay. And I would fly all over the country. I'd look at the deals, set them up, and then I'd come back and be the auctioneer and run the events. And so I was flying all over the country for a while in the next phase of this. Right. And I became an auctioneer. So the beginning of that was the auction story. The benefit, how I got into benefits is another story. But maybe you want to ask a question, or I can go into that one.
Go ahead, man. Just roll.
So the benefit story is, there I am with my kids in the parochial school, right? And they're like, hey, I understand you're in the auction business. Can you help us find a guy to do the benefit? We want to raise some money for the kids, all that. Yeah. And I said, I think I can. I probably can do that. And they go, oh, not you. You're a dad. We need a real auctioneer. And I said, well, I think I can do it. Yeah. They were like, well, I don't know. So I remember that first auction, St. Patrick's years ago, 2000 actually. So first auction, I'm out there, and Claire's handing me tea. My wife is getting me tea, and everyone's like, are you okay? Can you think you can do this? I get up on stage, and it went pretty well. Yeah. And the guy's like, oh my gosh, would you come back next year? So then the year after that, they were like, hey, what do you think we should do with this check-in system? Like, this is a mess, everybody.
Yeah.
Well, let's figure out something. And I had computer background. I put the computers together. Go ahead.
So were you moonlighting at as kind of Murad Auctions at this point?
So now I'm a commercial auctioneer. I have a full-time job with a company, and I am moonlighting as an auctioneer on weekends. And with the funny story about the monetizing of it was that the next parochial school calls and says, hey, we have a budget. We'll pay something. I said, you'll pay money for it? Like,
yeah, sure.
Yeah, we'll pay a few dollars. It's like, okay. Well, then the next one called. So the first year I did 1, the next year I did 4 or 5, then 20, then 50, then 80. And after 20 years, we have 200 of them,
Unbelievable.
in 2019.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of this metamorphosis. And of course, in the long term, I went to work for another company, and they offered me all this money, and they were in over their heads. And I ended up losing my job around the year 2003.
Okay.
2002, 2003. And we said, let's
give it a shot.
Let's make this thing go. And I remember all my friends are like, oh, no. Businesses fail. 98% of all businesses never make it. You got 4 kids in private schools. You're crazy. And I was like, okay, well, I think we're going to do this.
Well, you had kind of already dipped your toe in the water at this point.
Yeah, I'd done a few. I'd done a few. But, I remember going through, and I remember going and talking to my accountant. I said, yeah, I billed out like $80,000 in total expenses last year. And they're like, okay, what are we going to do? I mean, that was like total, not even what I made out of it.
Right.
I'm like, well, I'm not sure this is going to. I said, well, it's building,
Yeah.
So it was a slow process. And I think the turn kind of came in 2006. Everybody's doing paper bid sheets and they're bidding, and we were helping people check in. That became the other part of the business, is the check-in system. And in 2006, we ran into a guy who says, I can do this on iPads. We can do wireless.
So you start automating things.
Yeah, we were the first in Texas with electronic bidding system for benefits.
I've often said, anytime you can make it easier for someone to give you money, it's always a good thing, right? And that's really what it amounts to, right?
That's exactly right. If you make it easier for them to spend, easy to donate, hey, raise your hand. We'll bill you.
Yeah.
Then you take away anything that stops them. Well, I don't have the cash on me. That's okay. We take every credit card. Just swipe it and go.
Yeah.
So that became the deal. We had the swipe. It was like we were the first to come in and say, look, you don't have to do the knuckle cruncher at the end with a credit card.
I remember that well, actually. Good God.
So you swipe it, and at the end of the night, we'll bill you. It's like, oh, okay, one swipe and go. And then we just put everything in, and when it's one bill at the end of the night. So the key was being able to capture the data without actually having a transaction and signing with a signature.
Sure.
That was the first hill. And so getting that done, then they were like, oh, they got this automatic system. What we figured out is people who go in and use credit cards spend about 30% more than those who try to pull the cash out of their wallets. Yeah. Because they're looking at it and counting
that's a given, right? Anytime you got to take cash out, you think long and hard versus the credit card, it's just plastic.
Right. Right. Yeah. We'll worry about it at the end of the next month. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So that became a really good thing. And so it worked out. And then the next thing was, hey, what if we could do bidding at our tables? Or what if we can look at it and do it electronically? And it wasn't internet now, it was intranet.
Yeah.
So you started out with, you were in the room and you had your own intranet. You set up your own Wi-Fi. Yep. You were in the room, and we had these tablets, and these big clunky tablets, that you were probably familiar with, these old tablets, but it was a big deal. It was kind of a Dell derivative thing. And we had these old clunky tablets. You have to recharge them every 4 hours. Anyway, it was a tough deal, but we were in business, and now we were all in because we bought into this company, and we were like, now we got to make it go. Yeah. So that was about the time we started to say, look, we got to make this happen. And that was 2006. So that's been a long time too. And it keeps turning.
Well, so, and when you think auctioneers, you think like you mentioned, like guys selling, auctioning cows and trucks in the old old country, especially here in Texas, right? Yeah. But you specialize in nonprofit organization. I kind of think I know how you got into it, which is kind of by osmosis. But you've got a niche that a lot of people probably thought you were crazy to get into when you're talking nonprofits, right?
Well, in the auction industry, the overall at the beginning of this. So if you go back to the 2000s, it was like, oh, we donate to benefit auctions. We donate our services. In fact, the company I work for, that was their rule. You must donate. Well, here's the problem. You're giving them nothing. You pay no attention to what they're doing. You're not telling them
Get what
how
you
to
pay
do
for.
it. And so they'd have an auctioneer. They go, God didn't do anything we told him to do. No, he's paying no attention to what you're doing. He thinks he's a great auctioneer and he's giving you a service, but he's not. He's costing you money. So now they'll pay for it because we show them how to get to make more money.
Yeah. And it is a proven fact that, if you have a professional auctioneer, you will raise more money. I mean,
right.
I've talked to some people like, we do it ourselves. I'm like, I'm not sure. That's kind of short-sighted because when you let a pro do it, right, they know how to get the people excited and generate more revenue. And, it costs you a few bucks, but you'll make more money in the long run.
No doubt.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how we built the business is, you can have that. But let me show you our results. And then we did case studies that kind of showed, using your sales techniques. We had a case study that showed with our system, you made 30% more in the silent auction. We had the live auctioneer. He generated this much more dollars because he had the passion. He understood what you were doing. So we get in and we go visit the school or we go into the care facility and say, look, I met some of these patients. They're going to need your help today. I'm telling the story I know.
Yeah.
And that is what has carried us through is the emotion about joining you, not just, what are we going to sell today? Give me $700. Nobody cares for that.
Yeah. No, you make it personal, right?
Right. Absolutely important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it's done well. I mean, obviously, you're 20 years into this now.
20 years in.
20 years in, and you're doing well. And
no, we made it through the pandemic.
Well, that's a whole nother conversation. I mean, so I've been to several of your auctions, whether it be when we were at Lovejoy together. I actually worked one event for you. Which event was that, by the way?
I can't remember, but I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. I had no idea what
we just needed all these bid spotters, and you're like, I'm falling in. I thought it was fun.
I got a free steak out of the deal. That was I think that was my pay for the night or so. I don't even know. But at any rate, so I've been to they're all live in-person auctions, right?
Oh, right.
Nothing remote, nothing on the internet.
Oh, no, you got a crowd.
Yeah. The pandemic hits, you had to have panicked because everything was canceled, right? Every one of your events was canceled.
Yeah, so here's March 8th or 15th or whatever it was last year, and everything shuts down. Whatever shut down for everybody, right? I mean, your sales kind of came to a halt too. For a few weeks anyway. Yeah, no,
It definitely. We had a lot of projects that just like customers are like, hold on. We're not saying we're canceling it, but we're gonna kind of tap the brakes here.
No. So same thing. So we do a couple hundred auctions a year now, right?
Okay.
So 2019 by far was our best year. I remember telling that story and telling somebody, I said this yesterday, I saved this story for you too, to say, I told somebody, I said, what could stop us? We're doing a great job. People love what we do.
Who knew?
We were doing 30% increase every year over year for the last 10 years.
30% in number of events or revenue?
No, revenue.
Revenue, okay.
Every year. 2019 by far was the best year we ever had. We negotiated a new contract with our CFO. We had this whole, here we go. We're fine. And so this is when God comes in and says, yeah, you think so? You're all good? You don't need anything? So anyway, to your point, here you go, March. And so we had the first week of March is the busy time, but then April's the busiest in May.
Spring and the fall, right?
Spring and the fall. So we had hit the first big week, and then after March 8th, done. 68 auctions canceled in 10 days. 68 events.
I'm sure you had a few sleepless nights.
And so we did. Oh my gosh! So and I tell this story that my youngest child, is about the same age as yours, called her siblings and said, "Look, Mom and Dad are no longer going to be able to pay for college. I'm taking a poll. Would you guys help me get my last year of college because I want to finish?" And they're going to be broke. I'm pretty sure.
Well, I'm glad your kids had a lot of confidence in you.
They felt really good about
they already written you off. We'll sell the house. We'll take the money.
Yeah, I was like, can you? And she was serious. She really thought, because that's her own thing. But it was just funny. You're like, so because they were all home for those first few weeks, we're going in a circle going, now what can we do? So I get online and I say, look, we got to broadcast. We got to broadcast, right? Like we're doing here. We got to do it live. We got to do it in real time. And we still do the online. We already had online auctions. So it's like, okay, we can do those.
Right.
But people want
But that was in conjunction with the live auction, right? It was.
Yeah, we didn't have it connected.
Right. Okay.
So nobody ever did a live auction that they broadcast with the silent auction.
Right.
So I called the software engineers I work with. I was gonna do my own, but I called the group I work with and said, look, here's what I need. Give me a video in the middle of it. Now the key is it's got to have no latency.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can't. So you want to do YouTube, you want to do Facebook, you're looking at 20 seconds. Well, I'm an auctioneer. I'll give you about 2 seconds and I'm on to the next one.
Yeah, that's too much of a delay.
No.
It's like trading stock. You need something instantaneous.
Instantaneous. So we had a guy that came up and said, look, I got a deal. It was less than a second delay.
Okay.
And so I got in and it broadcast perfectly. I could play their videos. I could tell. So in about a month, so by April, I had a product I could sell. We rewrote all of our contracts, which Lori did, spent all of her time rewriting all the contracts. And we said, here's our new product offering. And we had a new product offering. And by the fall, we were in business, ready to go, and did 100 and something events still in 2020.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. So your competition, how are they faring during this whole pandemic?
So I have a group of auctioneers I work with all the time, and they were with a company, and there's another company out there doing the same thing, and they had a video thing. And so these guys are saying most of them, they were just playing golf.
Really?
And if you didn't have the other piece, which was most auctioneers don't want to fool with a check-in, check-out or have the silent auction. That's someone else's problem. They want live in person. So they did quite a few less events than we did because they were just waiting for people to come back in person. Well,
if you can afford to do that, that's great.
Well, I just don't know that they could. Now, I'll give you an example of an auctioneer. I won't say who they are. I had an auctioneer friend of mine, and he literally went to work for a car salesman, became a car salesman.
Oh, wow.
And what he was doing is the same thing happened with the automobiles. So you have a lot of people make a lot of money in automobile sales doing auctions, car auctions.
Right.
Big business, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So the car auctions dropped all their ringmen pretty much immediately. Now, I don't have the exact numbers, but the ringmen are gone because now it's virtual. You had the auctioneer calling it, but they hired 15 or 20 ringmen every day of the week.
To be on site.
To be on site and pull the
crowd.
people in. They work the crowd, and they have the numbers. They know where the car needs to go, and they bring it up and all that. Gone. All went online. And they may not ever, that may never come back because they did fine with the online, but they need the auctioneer, but not. So some of those guys who were supporting the auto industry group went away. And so there was a lot of guys who just did not come back and were unable to make it happen. But there are a few that weathered it through. And our smart thing is that we have contracts. And so they, we gave them a deal and said, fulfill it next year. We'll pass your contract.
Sure.
Over. Yeah.
So, and I don't expect you to share exact numbers, but from just a sheer number of events, were any canceled? Like what percent, like say 200 a year, what percentage?
So the 68 that canceled, about 5 or 6 or 10, it was just, we're not doing anything. And so for an example, I had 2 schools, including the school our kids went to, that didn't do one for 2 years.
Really?
They didn't do one last year. This year they did an online auction only. So their live auction has not yet come back. So there's quite a few that I do every year that just didn't do any events at all. But we picked up. So the other side of the coin was that I picked up events in Maine. I picked up events in Arizona. I picked up because it's all virtual.
Because now I'm thinking you just opened up a whole new door that wasn't there before.
Exactly.
What do you think the future is going to be going for? Because we're all talking about that. No matter what industry you're in, like I've said this many times in some of my podcasts, I think the commercial real estate business is going to get killed because I think companies are looking at their buildings and saying, wait a sec, I've got 10 stories on this building in Manhattan. We're doing fine working remotely or maybe a hybrid system. Maybe we go back, we don't come back. So what do you think the future of your business is?
Okay, so my business is already coming back. So we're in Texas, so we're opened up already, right? So I've already done several in-person events. I had 2 events in the last 2 or 3 events in the last 2 weeks that were purely in person.
Okay, good.
So we had an event with 750 people. We had an event with 600 people. We had an event with 150 people, not even a broadcast. Now, what I think is going to happen is, first of all, I think the in-person comes back full in the fall in Texas.
Yeah. I think people want to be with people, right? I mean,
you can't stop it.
You
never didn't. You don't want to. Yes, you're right entirely. And I think so. We're booking for the fall full in-person. Now, will they keep the virtual component? Yeah, some of them will, about half of them.
Yeah.
But by the spring of 2022, I think you're going to see full in person. But I think what we've opened up. So here's the new thing is that, hey, we don't need to do an in-person event. The other half of the year in the 6 months, we'll show a video and ask for money on the video and you broadcast it.
Right.
And I'm going to keep that. I'm going to retain that. So now instead of just a silent auction, let us tell our story with a broadcast at a time, and then we'll do the silent auction, and they can ask for cash and do everything. So I think those components will continue. I think some of the out-of-state ones. So now if I can still do Chicago, I'll do California. They're all still locked down.
Without having to leave your house.
No. So I think those are continuing, and I think those are doing great. My business will come back. That's the answer. We'll come back.
I think it will too.
Yeah, and I already see it. So we're already full booked for 2022 in the spring. All those ones that didn't book in the last 2 years almost all of them are already rebooking.
So how many events can you do in a night? Because our auctioneers, how do you go get auctioneers? How does that all work?
So I know guys who are in the car business and other things that have been referred to me. So here's an example for last Saturday night. I had 5 auctioneers working on Saturday night. Okay, I had 2 at my house that we broadcast from. I had my son broadcasting, doing one at his house in Denver, and I had an AV guy go out there with the cameras that we're using today, and he did it in Denver. I had another auctioneer do it at his house in McKinney, and then I was in person at one of the schools with about 10 people that were just in the gym, and we broadcasted from there. So I have auctioneers who will fill in, and they're happy to do it. In fact, they're happy to take a little bit less and do it from their homes, because now I can zoom them in. They can see the bids on a monitor. I zoom them in, you can't tell the difference.
Right.
Yeah. So we can do, I'd say 6 to 10 it'd be our number. Although Lori might kill me, but that's a lot of
events.
Yeah. But we rarely ever turn anybody away.
Yeah, it's hard to say no to business, right?
No, it is. We've had to, but and sometimes there's an angle there too. Sometimes there's certain groups that you're kind of like, hey, I hope we're busy that night, that give you a hard time. Yeah. And so, but I think there's been power in saying, you may not qualify for our system. And we've had some power in sales for that.
Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah. So all the, over the years, the growing pains of having your own business for the last 20 years. I can't even imagine with the ups and downs and having 4 kids in private school and,
Oh no! It's really there's a lot of praying that goes on from our house. Because you have to just go forward, and I think we were really nervous to start it to begin with. Yeah. And really pretty much everybody said you'll fail. It's just there's no way the percentages are against you. But the other side of it is that desperation breeds inspiration. Yeah. No. And so you got 4 kids in schools, and you got to make it work, and you just do. You work until you make it. And I think one of the things I learned was I pivoted around, and you hate to even say that word, but I went around and did all kinds of different businesses before I was 40 when I became an auctioneer. You look around and say, I don't want to be when I grow up. I'm 40 years old. And the thing I learned from people I've seen who are successful is you stay with what you know. Yeah. Once I hit auctions, I'm like, whatever the twist is, it's going to be in the auction business from here on out.
Yeah, it's hard to make a change as you get older, because then you're starting from scratch.
Well, no, but I think my thing is to stay with it. It's working, and don't, your niche is you have the sales thing, and you have the technical sales ability, and you do what you know, because that's going to work. I'm going to stay in the auction, whatever twists or turns, I'm going to stay in it. Fortunately for us, we were able to figure out a way to I'm pretty techie. And so we were able to figure out a way to go tech and pretty quickly. And that saved our company. The government thing helped a little bit too. Everybody had a little bit of
the PPP.
The PPP kind of made a big difference for us.
Yeah, we got them too.
You could argue for or against it, but I think we'd have been in a lot of trouble. We didn't have a little help from the government this year.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Yeah. I'm glad it's working, So obviously, you've been doing this a long time, Louis. In your opinion, I think we may have touched it. What separates you from the other auctioneers? Why do people keep coming back to you?
Okay, that's a great question. I think what it's come to is we really care about the people we work with, and we really want to represent them as if we were on the board of their company. Okay. So their company becomes my company. So when I say, hey, you don't understand what we do at this Montessori school, we take each one of the kids and we show them, hey, do you want to have a look? Why don't you come down? And then when you stand on stage, you represent them like you were one of the teachers or you were the founder, and you have a different voice, but they know you represent them. You care about them. And I've cried on stage before when I was trying to build a garden for the child who died suddenly, whatever. It's real. It becomes real. And I think if you do it in a professional way, you can make a difference. I think the other thing too is that we answer our phone all day, night, whatever. We're always on the call. You can get us. What I have been amazed at, Paul, and I think you may run into this in a professional life, is that you have people that are out there that won't even call you back. They have a company and they say they have a website and there's no one on the other end. We answer our phone. We'll meet you in person. We'll talk to you anytime. We'll text you. And I think that's it. Is honestly, you're halfway there if you answer your phone and you respond to people.
Yeah, no, that's like basic, like,
amazing.
Blocking and tackling 101. But you'd be surprised how many people that, hey, it's the weekend, I don't answer my phone. But I don't know. To me, you're a sales guy, I'm a sales guy. You answer your phone 24/7. That's just the world we live in.
That's what it is.
Because if you don't, someone else will.
Yeah. Yeah, and people understand you're on vacation, and they're happy to talk to you another time, but they appreciate the fact you took their call while you're on vacation.
Yeah. So, any thoughts? And I know you do other things. Any thoughts of doing other things besides, like, fundraisers for private institutions, schools, American Heart or whatever,
Well, we do that. We do an art auction every year. We do $1 million worth of art once a year, twice a year now. We have been, and it does really well. I'd love to do some more art auctions. I think that's fun, and we have a pretty good handle on how to do that as well. Right. So the art auctions have been good, and I think the next step for us is where we're in a place in our lives, and you may be thinking the same thing, is where do we go from here? This company can work. Who takes this over? What happens next? And do we franchise this thing?
Yeah.
I mean, we've got something. I talked to a franchise guy years ago, but I think that's the next step for us is, can we do the same thing in Houston? I've got a son in Denver. Can we go to Denver?
No, your son's, he doesn't work for you full time, but he's a licensed auctioneer, and he works for you.
And he works for us, and so he did one Saturday night, and now he's married and has a house, and so the income really means something to him.
Yeah. Any kids yet? And are you a grandfather yet?
No. I'm waiting patiently.
There you go.
Yeah, waiting patiently.
So, any thoughts of maybe someday him taking over? Have you talked to him about that?
Yeah, that and my youngest daughter. Her thesis for graduating her college was that she had to do a business plan. Her plan is to expand Murad Auctions, and I think she's seriously thinking,
wow,
hey, I see where this could go here. We want to go and when we told her, I said, yes, you do it. Yeah. And it'll do that. He goes, I think if we go to Houston, I don't know, whatever. I said, yeah, that's a great plan. Would you operate that? I'm looking for, at some point we're all want to, this is fine. We're doing well. We want to maintain what we have, but how much further do we want to go as we get older? I don't know.
I was going to say, we're all getting a little older, and, how hard do you want to have to work? But, we all have a few years left.
Yeah, we do.
But it cracks me up. I love, young kids are great because they're so idealistic, and, everything looks great in a piece of paper.
Oh, doesn't it?
Oh, it sounds great. It's a great business plan. Okay, execute. How do we go to market with this?
You guys could make a fortune if you would do. Yes. Oh, I know that. How about you doing it?
Yeah.
I'll call you. You're in Houston. You go so the idea was you go to the next city, set it up, and then get a person. I think the hard part is for this company, the niche about this is that finding the auctioneer who wants to fool around with the rest of it.
Right.
And I think that's the hard thing is that we have captured something, and I think you have great people who do the check-in, check-out, and do the online auctions, and you have great auctioneers, and they don't ever meet. And so what has really set us apart, which you asked that question earlier, but what set us apart is we're the whole package. We'll give you every piece of it. So that's what I like, is that we're able to offer everything, one contract.
Sure.
It's done.
Yeah, that's important. I mean, again, I'm in technology, but I think it's important even when we have customers that we can do everything from start to finish. That way they don't start looking for anyone else. They say, okay, you can do everything from the desktop to the data center, the cloud, and we try to kind of have all that business captured.
Yeah, it's like I was thinking about the pool guys. Like, now we do the concrete, we do the pool, we'll do your decking, we'll do your pergola, well, that's what I want. I don't want to call another guy who says, oh, yeah, we don't do concrete. Here's your pool, but you have to walk into the mud to get in it. I mean,
yeah, nice.
No, do the whole package. And I think that's what people want. They want somebody who will do those contracts and fulfill them. And I have gotten events from others where they say, why don't we have software here for the online? We're doing this for the live auction. We're doing this for the silent auction. We're buying packages from here. I got it all. I'll take it.
Yeah.
And it's really helped us in getting some new events we haven't been unable to get in the last couple of weeks. We've gotten some events we haven't been able to get in years.
Yeah, awesome. It sounds like you got a good package and a good plan put together.
It's been great.
So also your wife works with you too. Your wife, Claire, she's really the boss. You know that.
Yes.
You're the president,
I'm the president. She's boss of the president. I think she actually says she's CEO. Whatever she wants, whatever it is, she can have it.
Just give it to her.
Yeah, she's got it.
Yeah.
So, that's been a little bit of a dice game because working together, like she's up, and like we said, I'm a little bit loud when I talk on the phone. And so, And what we do is we have our moments where she has to have a little bit of quiet time. So we pull in a quiet time moment. She puts a sign on the door that says, quiet time, you go away. And so I have those moments with her, or we can't continue. And I think the other thing is we try to get away every 90 days and just
do something. Yeah,
leave. We have to leave the house because the house is the office.
That's the problem. You touched on a good point. That's one of the problems. We're home so much now.
Yeah.
That psychologically, it's like, now that I'm starting to get out, it's just therapeutic just to get out of the house.
Just to be out of the house.
Because think about it. When this first thing started, when this pandemic started, I would go days without leaving the house.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I remember
bring your groceries and deliver and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, I think Lori went to Mississippi for a couple of weeks and I was home by myself. I think I left the house once because I had no food. I actually I literally opened the fridge. It was dead empty. I'm like, I have
everything.
So after about 4 or 5 days, whatever it was, I had to go to the grocery store and wear the mask, run in, run out. Because at that point, when it first started, we didn't know how serious this thing was.
No, right.
So we were all like protection everywhere. And,
oh, sure.
20, but now, now I think we're getting back to normal.
No, I think we are too. And so I think that's what you see the turn in. We're talking about the real estate turn, but I think you see the houses because everybody now wants some land. Everybody wants to spread out. So everybody wants a lake view, or they want to, because they're there. And this is the reason that like the pool companies are doing great and all that, because you can't, everybody wants to expand their space because they're not leaving home anymore.
Yeah. We had our rugs cleaned at the house. The rug cleaner said it was the best year he's ever had. Because think about it. Everyone's home all the time looking at a dirty rug. You're not at work. So now you got this carpet's filthy. I got to have it cleaned. He said it was the best year he's ever had.
Right. And so, it's a fortune to clean a rug.
Yeah, exactly. Just this. So there's certain businesses I think that, obviously anyone that's in the paper towel or toilet paper or whatever the heck, all that.
Hand sanitizer.
Those, God only, I'd love to see the numbers on that stuff.
Oh, gosh. But it's insane.
Well, hopefully it comes back. You guys did a great job of pivoting and recreating yourselves. And, hopefully this never happens again. But if it does, at least you have a plan in place to be successful.
Yeah, and I was listening to a professional. I forgot who the quote came from. He said, but the very best plan is the person that is the best at plan B.
Right.
Those are the people who succeed, the plan B people, because it's always plan B. The plan A never continues.
Yeah, it's crazy. So our company, when the pandemic hit, we were, we're at the time, we're probably a year and a half, 2-year-old company, and a lot of our projects got put on hold. And our management, they were starting to panic. I mean, but turns out, we had a record year last year, and we're off to another. Yeah, unbelievable.
Was anybody let go?
No.
Okay.
We did get the PPP, and that helped out. I think again, I'm not an owner, so I don't know all the numbers, but
it makes a huge difference.
We're off to an unbelievable start this year, and I think it's just because of the quality of people we have. To be quite honest, we get some real technical studs, and we can go in. Our thing is we don't just sell stuff, right? We go in and solve problems. We don't just I always tell people, if you want someone to just buy some stuff, procure, I can do that. But it's just hard to compete in that space if you're not adding any value, any consulting services and architecting solutions, from the beginning to the end. And so that's why I think we've done well, because our customers, I think, really appreciate the value we bring.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And once you've done it, so ours is all based on referral. It's like you can try it if you want without me, but call these 15 people okay. I'll do it.
And that's how we won some business last year. We got called into, some other customers that were having troubles that other vendors couldn't solve, and we came in, saved the day, and now we got a new customer. So, again, I think in any business, it's referrals. It's hard. The whole prospecting piece. Well, we talked the one you listened to with Louis Higginbotham and Jesse Reed.
Listen to that.
Prospecting is hard, because of technology. In the old days, you could actually go up, knock on someone's door, introduce yourself. Now everyone insulates themselves with email and voicemail, and it's just hard to get to people.
No, it is, and I'll tell you, this is where Claire really comes in. So this is where she makes a big difference. Is Claire is calls in and says, "I just want to hear what you guys have planned for next year. I want to understand. Yeah, I have a question about you. Could you call me back? I have a question about your fundraiser." So she has a way to, and we know who they are.
Sure.
You know who the people are that are doing fundraisers because they advertise, right? So we call in and we say, "Hey, very nice." And I've had some that said, "You know what? You called me every year. I never took your call, and it's 5 years later. thank God we answered the call this time. We love you guys. And then we get them forever. But Claire is very consistent. Now, I don't care for that. I don't do the cold calls. I don't.
It's hard.
But Claire sits down and she'll make 40 or 50 calls.
Wow.
I mean, every day she will stop and she has certain times she knows work. Like kids are home, it's 4 o'clock because these are sometimes volunteers.
Sure.
After between 4 and 5, she calls Friday afternoon. Very strong.
Yep.
People are waiting for the clock. Is it 5 o'clock on Friday? Friday afternoon's a great time to call. Claire's a wizard. You should really do a show with her because she really has a whole angle. She's amazing.
Yeah. Then Lori had said that she's always on the horn all day.
Yeah. No, she never quits.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a really, with Claire and Lori, there's a partnership with the three of us that we do the work of more people, and that's why the thing works. Is you have people that really work hard and don't stop until it's done. And Lori has that same attitude like us. She's just like, we'll make it happen. And so with her, we pull it. She pulls everybody together. Claire makes the calls, and I finish, and I do the actual events.
You're the talent, Louis.
Yeah, I'm the talent. Thank you for mentioning that. Finally, knew that would come
Someone recognized it.
Someone finally has. Actually, you coined that phrase years ago, which has been great.
I always said people don't go to these auctions to donate. They go to see you.
Sure.
They want to see the entertainment. No, but I will say this. The first time I met you, I thought you were a little crazy up on stage. But it was entertaining. I got to admit, you're a little, you're high energy.
You're all over the place.
Big personality. And
right.
But think about it. I mean, do you want a guy up there that's just going to go to the humana and,
no,
just...
That's another reason it works. People want to show.
Well, I always looked at auctions. We didn't go and spend thousands upon thousands at the thing, but we always spent money. And I always looked at it, it was entertainment. Whatever I spent... Probably bought some things I didn't really need, but you do it for the cause, for the kids, whatever. And then, but it was like I just got entertained for a couple of hours. Had a nice meal and whatever.
Yeah, see my friends, have a couple of drinks.
That was the other thing. A lot of when we were doing these things at the schools we went to, all our friends would go. So it'd be just a night out.
Right, it's a night out with your friends, and then you're supporting the cause and. And the great thing is we get a lot of people like you in the room and say, hey, I don't want Joe to get this. I want to spend a little more than him and show him something.
Well, that's what happened. That's when the bid spotters come into play. They know the guys that are drinking and they try to get everyone to bid up.
Right. And later on, you're like, I spent what? What was that?
Yeah, you wake up the next day and you see your credit card and you're like, crap, what did I just do?
No, exactly. No, and that is, my business is based on people doing exactly that. And that is what it is based on.
Yeah. No, cool. So, well, what do you think the future holds for you? We touched on this a little bit. Ultimately, I mean, we're not getting any younger.
No, I think we. So here's what I was thinking the other day. I could sell it or sell it to someone or not. The point is, I'll work. So I actually never work a day in my life because this is not work to me.
It's fun.
Think about it.
Yeah.
And so one of the other auctioneers said to me Saturday night, we're sitting around the table. He was at my house doing an auction, and I could come home. He goes, "What do you think about it?" I said, "What am I going to retire from?"
Yeah.
I said, if they want me on stage, I'll come. And when they don't want me anymore, I don't look too good or I don't say I'm doddering old guy, they won't. But in the meantime, what do I have to retire from? It's not that.
Yeah. And at some point, if you do get where, you've lost your fastball on stage, you manage the business and you get some of the young bucks.
You get my son to come out and he'll do it.
The young bucks.
And let the young people do it. Yeah. And we'll show them how. And then there's something in that too.
Well, I will tell you this, Louis. You haven't lost your fastball yet.
No, I got it.
I've watched a few of your live auctions and you still got it.
Yeah,
you have.
Thank you. I hope so.
You got a few good years left.
I got a couple of years left. That's good. So we both do. We're going to keep going. And
well, that's being in sales. I feel like I've always tried to take care of myself because that's says something when you meet a prospect or a new customer and you're put together and they go, wow, I know this guy isn't 20, takes good care of himself, makes a statement.
Huge factor that I have to work on all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. We all do.
And the hair color. I think that's
yeah. Well, I don't have any hair, so
you don't have to worry about
I don't have to worry about that though. But I do see a speckle of gray.
There's a little Clairol there.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, don't reveal all your secrets, Louis.
I can't tell everything now. You can wait for the next
all your beauty secrets. Come on.
I'll try not to.
Well, hey, Louis, thanks for coming on today. I knew you'd be a fun guest, and the auction business is kind of just always kind of fascinated me, and the kind of the niche that you've built for yourself is very successful, and
it's very good.
Continued success.
Thank you. Thanks for having me today. I really enjoyed it.
All right. Well, that's a wrap for Business Brains and the Bottom Line. Until next time, I'm Paul Deledra.